The official Pokemon rankings are completely wrong. I discovered the one hidden factor that changes everything about Ash's true ace. What they never told you about Greninja will rewrite history. You have to see the final ranking to understand the real reason one Pokemon was secretly the most powerful all along. We start at the bottom with a Pokemon I actually like, and that's what makes this hurt is Lycanroc. Lycanroc specifically, Ash's Dusk form had everything going for it. Cool design? Yup. A Alolan story arc? Yup. A big emotional evolution moment? Yup. Final blow in the Alola League finals? Yup. On paper, that sounds like an ace. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. In the Sun and Moon anime, Lycanroc was never the center of Ash's team. Pikachu was. Every time a big Alola moment came up the trials, the big Z move flexes, the championship Pikachu was right there in front, smiling, tail glowing, stealing the camera. Lycanroc, meanwhile, felt like the reliable co-star. Strong, important, but not the face of the generation. That doesn't mean Lycanroc was weak, not even close. This Mon had character. It went through that whole I'm losing control stage, the little Uchiha phase where it got mad and started crashing out, and Ash actually helped it overcome that. It 3-0'd Nanu's team. It was the one to land the finishing blow to win Ash his first official regional championship. That is not small. That is history. But when we talk about Ash's aces, we're talking about Pokemon who owned the era they were in. When you think Alola, you think Ash, Pikachu, and maybe Incineroar, not Lycanroc. So even though I love the good Rock Dog, he sits at the bottom of this ranking. Amazing story, great moments, just not the ace. You were a warrior, Lycanroc, but in this list, you were also a very well-trained house pet. Moving on, a Pokemon I wish was higher on the list is Crocodile. Let's talk about this menace. From the third episode of Black and White, this dude was out here in sunglasses acting like he already belonged to Ash. Stalking him, challenging him, watching him. He was basically like, yeah, you're gonna catch me eventually. I'll wait. And then it took Ash 63 episodes to do it. 63. Do you know how many battles, evolutions, and side quests happened while this Croc was out there soloing baby Pokemon? Ash was out here catching Sawatis and Palpitoads, while the actual MVP of Unova was literally following him through the region. If Ash had just caught Crocodile earlier, half of Unova would have looked different, because once Crocodile finally joined the team, he was a problem. He had power, personality, and presence. He battled heavy hitters, clutched wins, and showed he could have carried way more than the writers let him. And that's the real issue. Unova didn't use him enough. He should have been at the front for every important battle, but instead he got benched for the Cameron fight. The same Cameron fight Ash definitely could have won if he brought Crocodile. This is one of those it's not you, it's the writing situations. Crocodile had top-tier ace potential. He had the tools. He had the aura. He had the shades, but he didn't get the spotlight at the right time. In a better written Unova, Crocodile is easily higher on this list. In this reality, still fire, still underrated, still rocking the glasses. Now we have to address the one that always causes arguments. Sceptile. Listen, I know, the Hoenn fans are already typing essays. How is Sceptile not top 3? He beat a Darkrai. Yes, he did. He really did. And we will get to that. Sceptile is one of those Pokemon that just oozes cool. From Grovyle all the way up, he carried himself like he knew he was that guy. He wasn't goofy. He wasn't chaotic. He wasn't throwing tantrums like Charizard. He was the calm, quiet assassin of Ash's roster. Look at the resume. He beat Norman Slaking, and Norman Slaking is not casual. That thing is basically a Snorlax that got into CrossFit. Sceptile went crazy in the Hoenn League. He took down a Frontier Brains legendary level Pokemon while recovering from heartbreak. He landed a hit on freaking Deoxys. And then, in the Sinnoh League, he straight up ended Tobias's Darkrai, the same Darkrai that was steamrolling everyone. So why isn't he higher? Because Sceptile, for all his greatness, always felt like he was one evolution too late. If Ash had Sceptile fully evolved during the Hoenn League, not after, he would have been a completely different monster. That's what keeps him in this middle zone. He's elite, he's consistent, he always shows up, but he never had that one era where the whole show bent around him. He's like the reliable hero, but not the protagonist. Still, in terms of pure battle swag, Sceptile is one of Ash's cleanest aces ever. A silent life taker, always locked in, never doing too much. If this were a most composed Pokemon list, he's top 2. But on the list of pure ace dominance, he sits just outside the god tier. Now, Lucario. This is where things start getting worse. When Journey started, no one was really thinking, yeah, Lucario is going to end up competing with Ash's all-time greats. He was just a Riolu baby, vibing, punching stuff. But as the World Coronation Series went on, Lucario kept getting fed stronger and stronger opponents, and not only did he not fold, he looked better every time. He beat B's Graplocked, and that thing was basically built to disrespect Ash. He took down a Gigantamax Machamp, then took down a G-Max Duraludon, then took on champion tier Pokemon in the Masters 8, then clashed with Cynthia's Garchomp in the same fight. That is not normal. That is final season protagonist behavior. And on top of that, he had Mega Evolution. People love to say, well, if you take away Mega Lucario, he's not that strong. Okay, cool. Take away Mega? He's still beating most of Ash's aces one-on-one simply because of how complete he became. He had speed, range, Aura Sphere snipe shots, hand-to-hand, and battle IQ. And unlike some of Ash's older aces, he didn't waste half a season being disobedient. Lucario is the perfect late-series power-up Pokemon. If Journeys had given him just a little more narrative focus, not just in battles, but in actual story, he could have crept into the top 3. But the 3 above him are legendary for a reason. Still, let it be written. Lucario sits above Sceptile. Yes, I said it, yes. I know some of y'all will cry. I will not be taking questions. Before we enter the holy land of the top 3, we gotta throw roses at a few Pokemon that absolutely could have made this list if they weren't victims of, we didn't use them enough. Snorlax, this thing was a unit, a Pokemon with 6 moves. Eating focus punches like snacks, unmatched endurance, and comedic timing. If Ash used him in serious battles more often, he would have been talked about with the greats. Heracross Clutch, hardworking, and an absolute baller whenever he was actually sent out. Again, just underused. And obviously, Pikachu. Pikachu is the ace. Pikachu is the default. Pikachu is the, if aliens attack, I'm calling him Pokemon. The only reason he's not on this list is because it would be boring to say Pikachu is number 1, because we know he is. He's the face of Ash, the face of Pokemon, the one who powered up Post XY and started throwing 10 0-volt hands like it was nothing. Pikachu is the constant. Pikachu is beyond rankings. So with that out the way, let's talk about the 3 that defined eras. Number 3, Charizard. Charizard is probably the most iconic of Ash's aces. If you ask a random person who doesn't even watch the anime, name Ash's strongest Pokemon, 9 times out of 10, they'll say Charizard. And I get it, the design, the nostalgia, the raw power, it's all there. But he was also a headache. In Kanto and the Orange Islands, Charizard was that insanely gifted athlete who refuses to listen to the coach. Ash would be out here trying to win crucial battles and Charizard would be like, nah, I'm gonna take a nap. Wake me up when you get a more interesting opponent. And that literally cost Ash a league run. Not because Charizard couldn't win, but because he wouldn't. That's why I call him wasted potential. Imagine if Charizard had been obedient from the start. Ash would have smoked half of Kanto. Orange League would have been a walk. Early, Johto would have had a completely different tone. But instead, they kept him in that brat arc for way too long. Once he got over it though, different story. He became the old head of Ash's team. Strong, dependable, battle hard. Took down an Articuno. Yes, it's the weakest legendary. Calm down, I heard you still, a legendary. Came back later and bodied a pseudo-legendary like it was light work. Charizard is Michael Jordan in his second stint. Still elite, still terrifying, but we also remember the earlier drama. Charizard is greatness with a long warm-up period. Number 2, Infernape. Now this is a hero's Pokemon. Infernape is what Charizard could have been if Charizard had heart from day 1. Infernape was born in struggle. He wasn't just abandoned, he was rejected. Paul threw him away, called him weak, said he didn't have what it took. And under Paul, yeah, it looked like he didn't. He couldn't control Blaze. He couldn't drum up the power when Paul wanted it. He was a weapon that hadn't been unlocked. Then Ash picked him up. And under Ash, that same weak Chimchar awakened, evolved, and transformed into one of the most dominant battlers in the entire Diamond and Pearl era. After he evolved, he was basically unbeatable. Speed, power, emotion, he had all of it. He wasn't just winning, he was fighting for something. Every time he saw Paul, you could feel the rage trying to leak out. Every time Blaze activated, you could feel years of mistreatment catching fire. And then we got that battle Infernape versus Paul's Electivire, one of the best battles in the entire anime, period. That wasn't just a Pokemon fight, that was closure, that was a character arc, ending in flames. That was Infernape proving, I was never weak. You just weren't the trainer who could pull it out of me. That's why I put him above Charizard. Charizard is raw strength. Infernape is strength plus story. He did everything Charizard could do but better, cleaner, with less ego and more purpose. He's the Kobe to Charizard's Jordan, the refined version, the one who learned from the predecessor and elevated it. And honestly, and I stand on this, if Ash had used Infernape against Tobias, we might have been staring at a different Sinnoh League outcome. That's how powerful he was by the end. But at the very top is the one everyone argued about, the one who got retconned, the one who broke the internet. Number 1, Greninja. On October 19, 2013, Ash made one of the best draft picks of his career and didn't even know it. He picked Froakie, not Fennekin, not Chespin, Froakie. And at first, Froakie didn't even seem like a crowd pleaser. He was stubborn, picky about trainers, clearly built different, but once he chose Ash, that was it. Destiny locked, Froakie evolved into Frogadier and started cooking. Undefeated streak, smooth movement, precision hits. He had that I'm meant to be an ace energy way before he became one. Then he evolved into Greninja, and the anime itself changed tone. Because this wasn't just another Pokemon. This was Ash Greninja. This was the first time the show said, what if Ash and his Pokemon didn't just have a bond? What if they became one? That bond phenomenon was more than a gimmick. It was one of the cleanest concepts the anime ever introduced. A transformation that wasn't item-based, wasn't region-locked, wasn't a Mega, didn't need a Z-move, it was powered purely by trust. By two beings syncing their hearts so tightly they moved like a single fighter. And when they reached that state, Greninja was unstoppable. He fought Elaine's Mega Charizard X, the strongest Charizard in the series up to that point, and held his own. He beat Sawyer's Mega Sceptile. He blitzed through the Kalos League like it was his personal highlight reel. He put Diantha's Mega Gardevoir on the ground, and she's the champion. And when the league ended, he didn't retire. He went out to save the region from a literal world-ending chaos. Here's the craziest part though. When the anime later removed Ash Greninja from canon, everyone thought, damn, they nerfed him. But no, think about it. That means all those feats now sit on base, Greninja's name. The frog did that with Ash's support, yes, but without relying on a stone or a key item. So now we look back and go, Greninja didn't just look cool, he achieved more. He battled at higher stakes, he fought at a level that made even Lucario, Sceptile, and Charizard look mortal. Greninja is the one ace who felt like he was built to be Ash's partner in a final battle. The perfect speed, the perfect power, the perfect cinematic flair, the perfect soundtrack, the perfect struggle, the perfect payoff. And that's why he's number one. So yeah, that's the list. Lycanroc, good boy, not the main character. Crocodile, robbed by pacing. Sceptile elite, but just outside legendary. Lucario, modern warrior, almost top 3. Charizard, iconic but delayed. Infernape, heart, rage, redemption. Greninja, the chosen one. And yes, if Pikachu were here, he'd be above all of them, sitting on the throne like, y'all are cute. But this time, this stage, this list, belongs to Greninja. So now you know the real ranking. Tell me which Pokemon you think deserves the top spot, and why. Let me know which ace had the most untapped potential that the anime never fully explored. Share your own list in the comments below. Follow for more breakdowns that reveal the truth behind your favorite anime legends.